Hey, what's up? How's it going, everybody? Got a few people here already. Um, yeah, I was just gonna start off real quick with something before I say hi to everybody who jumps in. Um, I'm someone who gets along with pretty much, could get along with pretty much anybody. I've always kind of prided myself with that. I have, like I have that kind of, what do they call that, a foot deep, mile wide knowledge. So I could, at least chat. I could chat sports, I could chat history, at least a little bit of whatever's going on, current events, even the ones I don't care about. Um, but, like if you were here on Tuesday and we had a troll here who just wanted to drop the N bomb, definitely someone who probably knew me, whatever. When I was younger, I hung out with a lot of people, and I still hang out with a lot of people. My job puts me in contact with pretty much anyone, every walk of life, being a photographer and videographer. Um, I remember there were days, though, I'd have people over my house, or evenings, I'd have people over my house. And I remember there's one particular time I had an ardent Bush supporter when all the wars were going on. And we had been friends all through school. And we were arguing with each other, and we're red in the face, and we're pointing, and everyone's pointing, and we're all yelling. And then we all look at our beards, and we're like, we're about done. What should we do? And it's like, oh, let's hit the bar. And then we all go out and have a good time the rest of the evening. I'm totally cool with that. Like, we don't all need to agree to get along, but if you in any way support what happened yesterday, I don't need you here. At all. At all. If you support a fascist mob trying to stop a free and fair democratic election, I don't give a fuck about you. Like, go find a different bike group. Like, I'm sure there's some real broy Lance Armstrong loving people for you to hang out with and you to chat with and you to be a whatever you want to be, you know. If you have a difference on tax policy than me, we could still be friends. If you think violent mobs should stop a democratic process, don't need you. Don't need you here. Like, don't care. I don't make a living on YouTube. I don't make any money on YouTube. I do YouTube because it's fun. I do it because it makes me a better videographer and photographer. That's why I originally have done it, and it's still that whole is my goal to do this more and more and get better at it. That's why I do it. I love the community we've formed. If you don't fit in here, that's fine. No big deal. Just go somewhere else and leave us alone. I'm going to talk about my French bicycle, and I'm going to talk about my beer, and I'm going to have a good time. I have politics in every other aspect of my life. If you search me out, you could find them. But like to the guy who got all pissed off because I had an Obama t-shirt on in the thumbnail and said, I don't come here for politics. That wasn't a political video. There were no politics in it. If you're that much of a baby, like I said, go find your jock right-wing group and hang out with them. Ride bikes with them. Talk about bikes with them. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need to pander to anybody. All right. That being said, I have a really beer I'm excited for. This is a Hinault coffee beer. It's coffee ale, and the coffee is from my friend Albert at Akron Coffee Roasters, and yeah, it's the 4th-year anniversary of Hi-Ho, so they're doing some anniversary specials. I should have brought the mug over here because the mug says beer, then coffee, and that's made by the social department. So the beer, coffee, and mug are all by friends of mine, so really cool thing to get into. You can smell the coffee just pouring that. How's everybody else doing? I did not get a video out today like I had said I would on Tuesday because, as you could imagine, like everybody else, I sat there in shock last night, flipped on NBC on YouTube, drank a beer, watched in I don't shock. I don't know what horror. Not surprised, but still just. I guess one more political thing. I saw the best quote, and this is the quote that I think is perfect, and it's the worst day of the Trump presidency is always tomorrow. And It's just been endlessly true, and it's exhausting. And I think he's exhausted almost all of us. Yeah. Oh, guys. Yeah. And this isn't even me fired up. Some of my other friends, some of my in-person friends have seen that aspect. What do you guys? Has anyone else had drinking anything? Any beers? Any mixed drinks? Any teas? Oh, let me know if I again I've turned the audio up a little bit, so let me know if it's over peaking or going distorted. I definitely want it to be more clear, so you're not cranking yours up all the way. Like I said, I'll watch the intro after I do one of these just to see what the lighting and the audio sounds like, and I just each week keep turning it up a little bit, realizing it had been way too quiet. I have the mic right here, so, but it goes into the yellow in my software, which I thought would have been a bad thing, but keeping it out of the yellow had been way too quiet. So, and again, that's why I said I'm here. A learning experience for me, and you know, Brewdog Clockwork Tangerine, one of my favorite beers. I had a Brewdog before I came on. It was their, it was a milkshake IPA, and I picked it up because uh, drinking the tears of fascists. Yeah, it was that. It was a Brewdog milkshake IPA, but it had a fruit flavor. It was a currant. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was 9%, and with all the stuff they had put in there, completely covered up. And I had one of those, and I actually already feel red in the face from it. So, and a cool thing about Brewdog, if you don't know them, they're a brewery from I think somewhere in Scotland originally, but they have a. I haven't been to their brew pub in Columbus, but they have one, and the beer I got was actually brewed in Columbus. So, they do actually brew at their local locations. What's up, traveling through? Sorry, sometimes you just got to rant, right? I'm a ranter. I'm like, if stuff's bothering me and I don't get it off my chest, then it just consumes me. I won't sleep tonight. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and think about it. Like, getting a rant out of the way is the best thing I can do for myself. So, yeah, I'm actually hoping it's not too coffee like because I want to have one or two, but I'm hoping it doesn't keep me up. So hopefully the alcohol and the caffeine balance out. This is one of my favorite glasses too. It's from Voodoo Brewing. I see them. There's going to be a lot of glare on that, but that's one I love. These what are these Teku style glasses, but it's kind of cool with the silver logos if that shows up at all. But been to their original brewery, which I can't think of the small town. It is in Pennsylvania, but then they have a bigger one in Erie, and now there's one in Cleveland. And even though I've been in the neighborhood and past the one where it is, what is that over by Cedar and Lee, but I haven't been to their Cleveland location. Well, because I think it opened not long before everything went to hell. So they make really good beer. Everything I've had at the brew pub has been good, but yeah, if we ever get to do this stuff again. Yeah, hopefully we. Yeah, like I was saying last time and said in the last actual like posted video I made, I that is like one of my the things I really want to do is all of us get together. Like I said, Columbus is so close and easy to get to, but even doing some of these like trips that might be a couple day or some people coming out here, and I alluded to I think at the end on Tuesday about how Bicycle Quarterly does those unmeetings, and I love that idea of just being like we're going to get together at this time to do a ride and maybe have two distances, but it's not organized in any way except the fact that like the ride is at this time. You know what I mean? Or maybe putting up you know, a map of the route or what the planned route is. So people could join in whenever. People come, make their own arrangements. It would be just such a cool thing to do. I think there's enough of us that live in the Midwest that could do it, and then, you know, maybe down the road do some farther stuff. But hey, what's up, dude? Drinking a Cape May Brewing Ties the Room Together blonde cream stout. Nice. Oh, this is good. It's nice because it's, you know, they usually do coffee and, you know, like a really dark stout, and then it's just adding a tiny bit to it. This being more of a brown ale, you really get a flavor of the, oh, it's actually the espresso blend from Dakin Coffee Roasters. They're in Terrebonne. And it actually came, so it came with a 4-pack of the beer, the mug, and then a bag of Interrobang. And it was really nice because the owners actually threw in a koozie and wrote a nice little thank you note on it for me. Actually, so this is the 4-year anniversary this week. Of course, they can't do the big parties and all that, so each day they're kind of doing a different package release. And and even when I showed up at the brewery tonight, they actually had all the orders sitting outside on the table. So you just grab the one with your name on it. But yeah, before they opened, when they were building out the brewery, I actually did their Kickstarter video. So, wow, 4 years ago, that's crazy. I even remember it being one of the first videos I was really proud of. Put in some music. I showed them, like, because the owners were actually doing the work to build out this place. It was originally a Ford dealership that sold Model Ts in downtown Cuyahoga Falls here. And so it had been offices for years and had ugly drywall and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of hollowed it all out and then started over from scratch. It's a really cool brewery now. And it's a mile and a half from here. So if we do ever meet up in this area, it'd be a great place to go and stop. And it sits right on the edge of the Cuyahoga Valley, so you could hike right down to the park and everything. So, hey, Danny, how's it going? Oh, the PBR coffee. Hey, William, what's up? Labatt. Oh, I didn't know Labatt Blue made a coffee. The PBR coffee we drank, so funny. So the guy who's third wave, very good, small batch roasted coffee is in here when we were doing Ohio to Erie Trail. He walks into the gas station. We're getting water, and comes out and he has a 4-pack of that PBR coffee stout. And the other guy who was with these guys, him and the guy who brews at Missing Falls, who stopped by and dropped off the beer, and I've been drinking on the live shows the one night. Like, the two of them have this coffee PBR beer, and we just thought it was so funny, the photo of like the high end coffee, or the, high end whatever, craft coffee brewer, craft beer brewer, both drinking PBR coffee together was pretty awesome. But yeah, that stuff's super sweet. It's not as bad as we thought. We were all like, you know. You would really expect that to be gross. It's definitely sweet, but Danny was looking into buying a Shimano 105 group. Yeah, that's, the 105 is what I run on 3 bikes. Yeah. So I went out and rode the Barry Hoban today, just downtown, actually, right where I was, got the beer from, just 5-mile loop. And I was actually more working with my cameras and stuff like that. I had a project I was trying out. But yeah, that worked great. So that's a 2x9 105. My touring bike, which is the Trek 500, is a 3x9 105. And then I have modern 11 speed on the gravel bike. And I like all of them. All the group sets just work great. Like, trying to do a super wide range in the front with 9 speed from the air is a stretch. Like I said, I've broken 3 derailleurs. But the triple works great to have the wide range, but the 11 speed is, yeah, perfect. I paid, I think, $600 for my 11 speed group set. No, I bought it off a friend who had only used it a little bit. Oh, Danny, you entered a for the PBR can design. I hope you get that. Your art would fit perfectly with the campaigns they do. Were you looking, by the way, on your 105 group set? Were you looking to go brand new, or were you looking to go on eBay and try and find something? Yeah, a lot of us have talked about the Velocity wheel set being the best bang for your buck. Like I said, I run them on the gravel bike that has the 11 speed Shimano 105, and I love them. And those are Velocity hubs and wheels, and they were. I think those are all. That's a factory wheel set. I don't think Otis built those up. Could be wrong on that, but yeah. Is that a, what up, bros? Did I miss any juicy lace gossip? Yeah, Danny. If it wasn't for, you know, I was kind of when I first started getting into like working on my own bikes, I was completely shooting in the dark. Like there's a bike shop down the street, and there's an older mechanic there who would give me some advice, and I still had the idea that I felt like some stuff needed to stay original. And I remember him kind of steering me in the direction of if it's not a valuable bike, that stuff's not necessary. And he helped me out, and I started to learn stuff, but definitely a lot of YouTubing stuff. But now having Large Marge, who works in Otis's bike shop, has been awesome, and just hanging out with people who know bike stuff has helped me so much. Groups like this, Pudgy Pedal Pusher will help you. He knows the stuff. Ben knows the stuff. You know, I'm starting to know my stuff. Like I probably told this story, but we had all on our Wednesday night group rides that we always do, which are anyone's welcome, long as you keep up and drink beer and don't mind whatever kind of stupid stuff we do. But the one guy who used to ride with us, we were sitting at the tables drinking a beer, and he said something about an 11 speed group set, and I said 11. Wouldn't that be 22? Because I had always done the math, and that's what I considered how many speeds a bike has. Like my mountain bike is 24, 8 by 3, right? So, and he looked at me and he goes, "Us in the bike community call the speeds of a group set by the rear cassette." Like with this condescending attitude that was just so like, "Hey, fuck you." That was my initial, "Hey, go fuck yourself. I'm not in the bike community just because I don't know every freaking term. Who cares?" Like, that's why we hang out and chat about bikes, is so you can learn. And when someone doesn't know something, you explain it to them in a nice way. Like, so that's what I want this to be too. So, oh, Lance gossip. uh, I don't even know what Lance's politics are. The people who still like him just got to be right wingers, don't they? That's what I would equate anyway. It's still, I don't know. Like I said, there's a great Facebook group, Steel is Real, for like looking at cool pictures of bikes, and even like that's where I bought the Barry Hogan. But every once in a while, someone posts something, and it has to do with like what's going on now, and then you see like the divide come out, and it's like, can't this group again, like just like this channel, it doesn't need to be about that kind of stuff. Like, doesn't can't this group just stay about bikes, and not even do we have to have the doping freaking debate again? Like and all the Lance supporters. Well, everyone did it. Yes, everyone did it. Lance is a piece of shit. It's not about the doping. He's just a piece of shit human being. You know. Sorry, it turned out your childhood hero was an asshole. Get over it. You know. Yeah, it's weird. The high end mighty. I mean, any group, whether it's bikes or whatever you're into, it could be art, it could be photography, it could be history. Like someone always has to have that like attitude of being better than everybody else. It's so dumb. That's what I love about our Wednesday night bike rides. That me and Ben, now it's mostly our thing, and well, now we're not doing it at all because COVID, but we will again. But that's what it was. Like, you know, my Trek mountain bike, my 4900, was the only bike I owned. That's what I rode. Ben rode a fixie. Our friend Woody rode a single speed. Like, it didn't matter. Like, nobody cared. It was like we all ride fast. We all go somewhere and get kind of drunk and ride home even faster after saying we're not going to ride home nearly as fast. So that was it. Like, that's it. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? It's, you know, don't be a dick. It's so easy not to be a dick, you know. You know, a bunch of dudes, you're all gonna razz each other, you're all gonna make jokes, you're all gonna once in a while race each other, especially when you've been drinking, you know, but you don't need to be a jerk. You could actually just explain stuff to people who don't know as much. And then they know more, and then you could get along with them even better, you know. Nice, Danny. Yeah, I don't know. It's always going to happen, and it's just yeah, just cut those. Just do the best to cut those people out who are like that. It was interesting with our group. It actually ended up being fairly self-selecting. It was like there'd be people who'd come out once and never ride again. It's kind of clear. It's like, hey, this ain't for me, and not always in a negative way. And you know, just this isn't my speed. I remember there were certain times where there were people who definitely felt like we partied a little too hard, and it wasn't their thing. They were more into riding just to ride, and it's fine, no big deal. Find your group. There's all kinds of roadie group rides. You'll have no problem finding them, you know. And I don't have a problem with a roadie group ride. It's just not what we do on Wednesday nights, you know. Yeah, Charles says the so-called experts seem to forget there was a time they didn't know everything. Yeah, I've I've never had. I mean, the only I don't even have a bike with any suspension anymore. But I think for some of the if I lived somewhere else, I think a dual suspension bike would be worth it. Or if I took the time to go on trips to mountain bike parks and all that. Um, one of the I guess I know I guess you could lock out suspension bikes a lot now. One of my things is I like to ride where I'm going to ride. So even like the trail, one of the mountain bike trails we have around here, Eastern, which I haven't ridden. I know there's rock gardens and it's more suited to like a full suspension mountain bike. But again, I want to ride there and it's what 11, 12 miles, and I don't want to ride a dual suspension mountain bike to get just for where I'm going to do the loop. So I definitely think it would be fun, and if I did it more, I'm not saying I'd be against it. When Terry was out in California, Terry B, who we always talk about, popular YouTuber, and he was riding those trails that were just so beautiful, and they're looking down on the ocean and the city, and these trails like are only suited for a dual suspension mountain bike. Definitely, that's when it's entirely worth it to me for that kind of thing. He's out in Sedona actually right now, and again, even watching his Instagram stories, how beautiful. I'm like, that would be worth having that kind of bike. The way I ride around here, it's not necessary. I guess. Um, I guess it would almost be like investing in snowboarding to snowboard around here. It's just kind of not worth it for me. We have 300-foot hills that I'm not that into unless if all my vacations were gonna be that, it would make more sense. But yeah. Oh, you're trying to watch his Twitch live stream. I got that notification. I had to work all day, so Terry went live on Twitch with his with mountain biking out there. But I'm sure he's going to put up some really cool produced videos when he gets back. So I'll just wait for those. But I also there is a thing I have with certain kind of mountain biking that kind of bothers me. Of like, so around here they're building them out, like when they build like out Eastern. Like now that everyone has these super capable bikes, they're just like building it to be more technical on purpose to match the bikes. And again, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, why not just make them really fun, like smooth paths that like I could ride on my gravel bike, and or and I do see some that have the bypasses around the gnarly stuff that seem. The last crust video kind of showed a trail like that, where it was really cool. It had like the bumps and it had like great banks, like cool looking mountain bike trail. And then when it had the rock gardens, there was a way where you could go up and just kind of go around them and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like if you just keep building bike, it's like an arms race. You build like a more gnarly trail and then a more gnarly bike that can handle it. At some point, wouldn't it just make more sense to make trails that just suited whatever, like just the regular hardtail? Like to make a super technologically advanced bike just to make a trail that was built specifically to be tough. I seems weird to me. And that's why I was saying the difference is when I saw the trails out west, where it's just like those are the trails that exist. They were probably horse trails at some point or whatever, they hiking trails, and the views are beautiful. And like the stuff that's super gnarly isn't put there just to be super gnarly. That's just the terrain. That makes sense to have a bike that can conquer that, so you can go and ride your bike in this beautiful location. In Ohio, just to go and put in a bunch of obstacles, if you will, because you have a $4,000 bike seems dumb. That's and I'm probably totally missing something, and I do that a lot. I miss something, but. Yeah. And then, I have a friend who works at Earthquaker. They're the guitar pedal company. And he has like this crazy, and I don't even know the right terms, but it's definitely a downhill bike and all suspensioned out. And but he doesn't ride it, like they don't ride it up the hills. He goes on vacations to places specifically where it's probably a ski resort in the winter, but you take a chairlift up and then you ride your bike down, and the bike is totally like as slack as they could be, total suspension, and that's what he loves. And it's all extreme downhill riding, crazy downhill riding, and that's totally his thing. To me, the reward of going down a hill is having climbed up it. But again, that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean what he's doing is wrong. But he doesn't ride bikes in any other way. Like he doesn't have other bikes. Like he doesn't have a round town bike or a city bike. Just his one thing. He's not riding his bike unless he's at a specific place he's on vacation for to bomb down a super technical fast trail. That's strange to me. I like everything about bikes, so I'm not going to say I would never have a full suspension bike, but I don't think I'd ever have a bike that's so specialized that that's the only thing I can do. I don't know, that doesn't seem as fun to me. I like climbing too. Like even when I feel like my lungs are going to pop out of my face, that's part of the experience of being a cyclist, right? But I just got a push notification from the New York Times saying Betsy DeVos resigned. Why would she resign? She is like the most fascist person ever. Um, anyways, uh, Ben had said it's a pissing contest. Everyone trying to push the limits farther than the next guy. He used to be very involved in that part of mountain biking. It's bros broing, bro. Yeah, like I said, I can imagine it's a blast. Like, I, I think another part of me is I'm not like extreme. So I don't need like the extreme thrill of something like I said, I'm cool with a party pace ride. I cool with all kinds of ride. I like discovering new things, and there's times where the 42s on my gravel bike, I am underbiked, very underbiked on some of the stuff we're doing. But again, that's only going to end up being 10 to 15% of the ride. Then I'd rather be a little underbiked on that part and then still comfortable when we're hitting the pavement to get where we're going. Um, Again, we have good friends who only mountain bike, but they still, around here it's not a chairlift to get to the top. They still climb the hills to get back up. Um, yeah, and again, I don't even have a problem with people doing just the downhill thing on the most high tech bike. It just seems weird to me that if you do that, you also wouldn't ride a bike in any other aspect, you know. But it's just, yeah, I guess it's summer skiing maybe, and that could, you know, the winter you ski and in the summer you ride your bike down these mountains. Ben says most mountain bike trails aren't around here are worse than a lot of stuff we ride every day. I'm kind of the shuttling life gets old after a while, says Broadford. Yeah, yeah, just different ways. Yeah, different styles, different strokes for different folks. Totally fine. Yeah, yeah. I did. I can't remember if we talked about this on Tuesday or if I was just talking about it to a friend, but GCN, who I don't watch as much anymore, more for just the pro racing coverage because that's stuff I like that they do. But they actually did a video kind of about the same thing I'm kind of talking about, and they were saying like people are so overbiked now, for any kind of gnarly stuff that it's more fun to go out there and because the point of a lot of the point of mountain biking too on technical stuff to challenge yourself. So if you do go out and knock it out on a regular gravel bike, that's or even vintage mountain bike, modern gravel bikes are basically vintage mountain bikes with drop bars, right? But yeah, doesn't that make it more fun? Isn't that the point? I mean, unless you're really just going for the Strava time, I guess. But to sail over a rock garden on a full suspension bike, just that was put there intentionally, just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know. Danny said he's dying to get his bike built up. Throw wheels on. Do you think he should go for 2-inch tires? I, I'm almost at the point where whatever bike I own, I'm just going to put the widest tires it could fit, you know, which I don't own any that could fit real wide tires, but, you know, I do feel like my 42s are fairly narrow now. But, Otis, who I bought the Tamland 2 off or traded for, he considers it an endurance road bike, which is funny. I consider it my gnarly everything off road bike, but I do ride, like I've said, I ride it on the road a ton, especially in the winter when it's always dark. Our roads are terrible. Someone commented on, I think it was my last video, and I thought the roads were bad in Indiana. And I was like, that's why I ride my gravel bike everywhere in the winter. I was surprised on the Barry Hoban. I don't know if I told you guys this. I told you last week that I got those 30s from Otis and I wanted 32s. Turns out it would not have cleared 32s. I actually, and again, I don't know what you call the on vintage Rose bike. They have the screws in the rear dropouts so you can move the wheel forward or back and kind of change the feel of the bike. I actually had to take those all the way out to be able to put the wheel as far back in the dropouts as it would go just to fit the 30s. So like I said, it probably came with tubulars, and they were probably 23s at the time that bike was made. But I still thought like I would be able to fit a wider tire in there. But yeah, the 32s are just clearing in there, and that's all the way back. 42 millimeter and 2.1, that's the same size. I always, because what in the mountain bike world, they always talk in inches. In the road bike, gravel bike world, you always talk about millimeters, and I have not in my head put together where they equate at what point. So 42 is 2.1. And I think my snow tires are what, 2.4s on my Trek? Yeah, and then 42 millimeter is the max I could clear on the gravel bike. The only thing that, if I was, because I'm thinking like my gravel bike I might want to ride on some tours. The problem is the 42s, I can't even put fenders on that bike, which would be nice for touring because I really want to put fenders onto my vintage Trek. It will take a lot of modification. I was talking to Ben and Otis about this because I have these Honjos, these hammered Honjos. Super beautiful, super lightweight, permanent fenders. You know, they're the kind you would put on and they would just, you know, they would be in place forever, but a lot of modification to get them through the stays in different spots. So I just talked to Otis about him helping me out actually getting this set up on that bike, but I really do want a full fendered bicycle because I don't have one. I did have some like snap-on fenders on my Trek mountain bike one winter, and they saved my life because one went wrong and I couldn't start going, and Ben went and a car flew through the intersection, smashed into him, and I would have been even more directly in line with the car's bumper if these stupid clip-on fenders hadn't gotten messed up and possibly literally saved my life. If you rock the Velocity Blunt SS, they bump your width pretty good 2.1. I think it's 55 millimeters, 53 or so. Okay. How much do you guys think tread pattern then? Like, you know, so having a gravel bike you want to ride off-road, but also on-road, I think the way modern tread patterns are designed have a nice effect on that too. Like, I'm running the Terravale Cannonballs. Erin just got trying to think of which Ultra Dynamicos she got, but looking at them too, like how the tread is aggressive on the sides, but smooth enough on the front. It seems like that has a big impact on how your ride's going to be now too, compared to back in the day, just mountain bike tires were all knobby, or you bought something that was smoother and you didn't really get the best of both worlds. And now I feel like you can get the best of both worlds. The Cannonballs, me and Ben were out for the last, I think, group ride we did before we stopped doing them. We went out and did some like guerrilla mountain bike trails or whatever you'd call them. Just, they were dirt bike trails, something. It was a little slick, and I definitely was sliding a lot with the Cannonballs. That's where I would have wanted something more grippy. But again, a night where you rode 25 miles and only like 1 or 2 of the miles is the off-road stuff, and I was still able to get through it. It was still worth it, but that's where I think like looking at some of the more, like some of those Ultra Dynamicos have that thicker side tread pattern. I'm like, I would have been comfortable on the road, and I probably would have done a little better in this slick, kind of wet dirt type stuff. But those are cool innovations from the smaller tire companies that seem to be making stuff that works for both. They're just like, you know, Shimano GRX or some of the things that making it so you're having this wide range of stuff that you can do with the bikes. This, I think someone called it Swiss Army knife, probably Ben last time. And so like you said, unless you're in the mud, you know, but I don't know how it is in other places, but around here the trails are closed if it's muddy. So you're not allowed to go to our trails or Hampton Hills and East Rim and Bedford Heights. You're not allowed to ride them if it's muddy. So to have super aggressive tread is just not necessary. Sometimes it's more necessary for people like me and Ben because we're just riding these illicit trails. I don't know what they are. Just these ill-defined spots in Akron that we find and we ride them. And sometimes we're actually probably riding gnarlier stuff than the mountain bikers are because the mountain bikers aren't allowed to ride the mountain bike trails around here when it's muddy. I always hear Otis tell people that in the shop. I hear him say, like, who are buying mountain bikes to go mountain biking. They're like, you don't need super aggressive tread because you're not allowed to ride the trails when they're wet. So Hey, what's up, Spencer? I'm gonna start a new paper route tonight. Is that a reference I'm not understanding, or you're literally going to be delivering papers? And you might, and again, like I always say, if we've talked about this before, a lot of times I forget. I forget things. Yeah, you also have, Ben says you also have cyclocross races where the muddier the better. In those cases, they need 700C full mud tires. Yeah, and I just can't. Some of the races this year, the one me and Ben watched, just a total mud fest. And just to think that running on 38s, like 700C by 38s and like getting through this stuff that's like these deep, wet grooves. It's just, those guys are, and women are just unbelievable bike handlers. And yeah, cross, sometimes no, not sometimes, all the time, I feel like cyclocross is the hardest of all disciplines for a bike handler. Like, I don't, and you see it both ways. It goes, there's people come from the road to cyclocross and go back and forth. There's people come from mountain biking to cyclocross and back and forth. But I sometimes feel like some of those muddy cyclocross trails are harder than any mountain bike trail, even at the world level. But to come down one of those steep hills at the speed they're going, and then to send it through like a mud pit and to keep it upright, and then to go uphill and stay on the bike in that kind of slick conditions, is just incredible. Gonna clean the bottom of the bottom bracket shell with this rubbing alcohol so I could put this I'm going to tape this cable guide on. And as Yonda was saying, he thinks that the pressure from the cables will keep it in place. There is a hole in this bottom bracket shell, but it's not threaded. I know I just shifted gears 180 degrees, but and between the actual bottom bracket and that hole, I didn't feel like I could put a bolt in there that came down, went through this, and went up to here. So I'm going to give this idea a try. Brodford says he sold on the Renaers knobbies. Yeah. One of their big things too is like fat slicks. I've just Otis lended me some Bicycle Quarterly, which same guys as Renaers, and on the road it's interesting to see what as a Jan rides, because he'll ride those Renaers like I think like 42 slicks. He has his handlebars as high as his seat, and he'll go out and ride like Brest Perry, and he's like beating all these roadies with their modern carbon slammed bikes. Like, just an interesting philosophy, which Pee-wee's Big Adventure. What bike are you running with 650/40 on your Gorilla Monsoon, Ben? Said he's running the Renaers Knobby 650B by 48s. Trying to picture him. We just haven't been riding that much together, any of us. So on the Gorilla Monsoon. Okay. Now I'm trying to picture those tires. I'm sure you've showed it to me. I'm sure I've looked at them, but thanks, man. I appreciate it. Grab my scissors. I thought I set them over here, but I didn't. I want to cut this tape, double-sided tape. zoom in on this. Make it a little brighter too, huh? Again, I've said this a million times, but this is not how to do anything. This is how I'm doing it. What is it? Kind of like that famous Hunter S. Thompson phrase. I would never recommend drugs, alcohol, or violence to anybody. But it's always worked for me. This is sticking on pretty good, but now I'm trying to get that second layer of the outside layer of tape off so I could stick on the cable guide. Come on. Oh, you're inspired by the Hinault video? That's awesome. That was a blast of a trip. We're trying to decide what we want to do for our big trip this year. If we do Ohio to Erie again. Ohio to Erie is great for us because the logistics are so simple because we leave from our houses so we don't have to worry about where our cars are going to be or anything like that. And it's beautiful. And you so much different terrain. You get to see your whole state. So... Let's see if I could get this. We will. So Ben, Pudgy Pedal Pusher, the guy who was in the chat on New Year's, our other friend Brad. That's what we did. We rode down with a bunch of friends who I was talking about, like when we were drinking the PBRs and all that, the PBR coffees. We rode down to Millersburg, Amish country. We camped, a bunch of them. Then after one night, turned around, went home. Me, Ben, Brad from up here, and Aaron. Then did almost a century down to Columbus, stayed with our other friend Brad in Columbus, then he joined us for the rest of the ride. So, which was really cool, down to Cincinnati. And we didn't just do Ohio to Erie this year. We broke off and rode out to Springfield, which was really cool. Went to a really cool bike shop out there. Yeah, that worked. So yeah, that would be an option. Ben said going to try and convince Tim and Aaron to ride around Lake Erie with me. Yeah, we were looking at that route. Another route that I'm interested in, me and Ben and Aaron for Aaron's birthday did the Erie Canal Trail in New York, and we rode Buffalo to Rochester and back, so double centuries. But you can ride that all the way to New York City. So you'd ride the Erie Canal Trail out, then you'd come down the Hudson. And that's another one that's kind of interesting to me. Maybe starting from Rochester to New York City, doing it that way would be 400 miles. And so that'd be kind of a cool idea. Ben from Columbus, or Brad from Columbus, the one we picked up last year, was interested in the Gap Trail and CNO Trail. Me and Aaron have done the whole Gap Trail, Cumberland, Maryland to Pittsburgh, but doing the full thing to DC would be interested in. And I guess once you get from the Gap Trail to the CNO, a gravel bike becomes way more necessary. Aaron rode it on her Surly Pacer, the Gap Trail, but the CNO, I've heard if it rains, it gets a lot more gnarly. So that'd be an option too. Cyclotherapy in Springfield, yeah. Danny says, looking at the side of his tire, it says 700 by 30, but it's a Schwabel. Um, the only ones they make are 700 by 32, close to what I would ride. Huh. Does that mean you have one from... It was interesting. We were just watching an interview with um, the two ultradynamical guys by Pathless Pedaled, and he was asking them how they size like their tires, because the internal rim width is going to drastically affect how wide your tire is no matter what. So building up the Barry Hoban and putting modern 30s on it, and those rims are Mavic Open Pros from whenever. So are those, those are probably what, like 19 internal width. So if I put a caliper on them, would they come out to 29s? Whereas like, with my Velocity Aerons and you put 42s on them, are those really 42? Or, would those be 43, 44, 45? So tire sizing is not what it says on the side. Also depends on what your rim is too, and the pressure you run and all kinds of factors. But if they only make a 32 now, you might have just had an older tire when they did make a 30. Yeah, older bikes, you're definitely going to be limited. That's why I can't believe this bike, as a road bike, I can't believe this fits these 32s. You would think a carbon look. Um, After we went off the night Jan to stop by, and I was asking him about that, saying that seems so weird to me. A 1993 would fit, because then they were really getting aero and keeping the clearances super tight. And he said it might be something actually with the carbon layup that they weren't confident enough to put the chainstays that close together for strength, um, which I think makes a lot of sense now that he said that. But yeah, like the Barry Hoban again, like 28s would have been your winter tires on that bike. But yeah, then my gravel bike being an early 2014 gravel bike, 42 is the max. Now that would be tiny for any gravel bike. Spencer asked what got me into biking. Did I grow up doing it or did I get into it later? My dad was a runner, but he always liked to bike, and he would take us out. Like, I remember being in those rear kid seats in the back of his bike on the weekend, and then we rode little huffy dirt bikes around the neighborhood, and then I graduated onto a horrible huffy mountain bike, and yeah, just I always rode, and then I worked on a farm for a number of years, and I didn't ride, just because my summers were so consumed by that. And then when I stopped working on the farm, I got my truck mountain bike fixed up. I met Ben, and then just rode nonstop. That was 5-6 years ago now. But yeah, so cycling is something I've always loved. Didn't realize how much I loved it until I started doing it again as an adult. But I even before I worked on the farm, and even some farm years where there might be so there was some the season didn't allow for us to do a lot of work early on. I would always be just be out riding. But never thought of myself as a cyclist until after I worked at the farm, until 5-6 years ago when I really, really fell in love with it and started getting into building up bikes. I never wore anything that would be cycle stuff. I never had a cap. I never would have a pair of Rafa pants for sure. You know, it was just like that. Even helmets. When we started riding, I never. When we got back into it, we never wore helmets. Never. I've never even considered wearing a helmet. Oh, you said you love so the one yellow spoke on each wheel. So these there's a serums. There's Yonda told us they're pronounced. There's a K in front of it, but Mavics. So these are the Tour de France model, and I'll zoom in here in a minute. But in the hub, it has it wrapped around Mavic Tour de France, and from what I read, I went online and looked them up. The only thing that differentiates them from the regular model is that one yellow spoke. But I don't know if you, I've talked about this a little before when we've done these live streams. The look, the one reason I like that this is the wheeled set is, you know, it's a French bike, and Bernardino, the model that this is named after, won the Tour 5 times. You know, it's got the yellow 76, so it's kind of nice to have the. And it's a coincidence. A friend sold me these really cheap, but are fairly cheap. So to have like a French wheel set, that's a Tour de France model on a Bernardino bike that is a Tour de France winner is kind of a cool, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Copacetic relationship, you know. Blake asked about the M2 trainer. I really so the Saris M2 or Saris M2, however it's pronounced, is like the entry level smart trainer. So it's like the cheapest you could get a smart trainer at. So it's wheel on. So your wheel is there's a cylinder that your wheel is running on. So you don't, you know, more modern trainers or more expensive trainers, you actually the cassette is built into the trainer and you don't put a rear wheel on it. So it's basically the lowest cost entry, and I think it's around $400 to $500 now. Um, I'm happy with it. But it's probably because I don't know any better. I think the higher end ones are going to be even better. I notice when I'm riding on Zwift, like if the gradient kicks up like super high to 10%, there'll be about a second leg before my trainer goes into that, and then going downhill, the flywheel is not huge, the weighted flywheel. So that's another thing with a more expensive trainer, they'd put a bigger flywheel on it so that momentum would keep going in and make it give you a little more realistic road feel. Again, since I don't know any better, and for the amount I'm only going to ride it in the winter when I don't want to ride outside, say it's raining and 35, for me, it still gives me that engagement to keep it interesting, so I like it. I would say, who is it? Wahoo makes almost a similar trainer, and it seems like people are, from reading stuff, like more people seem to prefer Wahoo. I think Ben might know what the name of it is. So it might be worth going with their trainers. It's like anything in cycling, you know, you're going to get what you pay for. I'm really happy with it for the way I use it. I would definitely buy a smart trainer if you're thinking of doing trainer stuff. It it's a game changer. Like it makes it, you know, you're playing the video game instead of just sitting there running on a treadmill. Like so, uh, treadmill, treadmill. I definitely get a smart trainer. I don't know if this is the one to recommend, but at $500, this is kind of the minimal how you can get into it. For me, it works. I get a lot of it. I get engaged and have a really good time. I could see how for people who are more serious, you'd want to invest more. But again, I have a bike that I bought for $350 sitting on a $500 trainer. It's hard to get into it that much cheaper. Yeah, and I don't think any. If you haven't written anything else, you won't be mad about it. You know, I'm not. You know, I am amazed by how much I enjoy it. Like, really am. Like, I was. I was like, I knew I should get the smart trainer. I knew I probably wouldn't just from watching GCN and stuff like that, and some other channels. And that was the right decision. But I don't feel like I need to invest more. I could, like I said, I could see how a more expensive one would be better, and where the advantages of it would be. But for the amount of time I spend on it, it's cutting the right balance, you know. Let's run one of these through and see how it, see if it lines up. This derailleur hanger too, it's French Pacific. It's Problem Solvers, which is a company that's owned by QBP, Quality Bicycle Project, QBP, who makes Surly All City Salsa. I really love it because it has up and down and side to side adjustments built in, so the hanger doesn't need to be positioned in the perfect spot because you can move the derailleur on the hanger. It's slotted with a nice gap. I know I'm not close enough here. Yeah, if you're thinking of upgrading a vintage bike, or I don't even think it would have to be a vintage bike, but will you be able to see that? Let's see where my, oh yeah, there. So this is slotted from here to here. So long as you get the hanger put on the seat tube in the right vicinity, you could do the fine-tuning adjustment just from the derailleur bolts, which I think is the way to go. I think it's harder to worry about adjusting the hanger side to side and up and down than it is to just adjust the derailleur. If you're a full-on bike mechanic, that's probably no big deal. I'm not. So this adds a little bit of ease of adjustability for someone like me. This cable almost cut too short, or it looks like the cable line's going to work fine. It's not touching on the derailleur. Like I've said with my Jeton, it's been a problem. But that bike's from the early 70s, where the cable pull would have been from the other side of the seat tube. And I still haven't quite figured out what I need to do with that to get it to work right. Oh, I'm tightening this cable before I've really actually positioned the derailleur. So I need to loosen that. So the gap between the derailleur, front derailleur, and the big ring, I believe, is supposed to be 2 millimeters. Well, 2 millimeters by Shimano's recommendation. I think that's standard though. And then obviously getting it in line with the yeah, so I did get sent a couple of mirrors that I have because of the weather and stuff to review from Amazon, and then I got sent some. Oh, I didn't get sent them yet. I got asked about reviewing some bike shorts that were either $23 or $32. But I have some cheap bike shorts that I do ride on the trainer, so I like wouldn't discount like these having some use, these bike shorts. But their sizing chart made no sense. Like it didn't make sense to me. And then they got back to me and they were like, should we just send you some random sizes or what? And the bike short company is clearly, it's Asian, and I don't know. The signature was definitely in um, characters. I don't know whatever you'd call a Japanese or a Chinese language symbols, characters, right? And so I basically told them, I was like, I don't think your sizing chart is translating well, which is just something you should know anyways if you're trying to sell on Amazon. Because nothing made sense. They had a hip size and a waist size, and nothing went over 32. And so I told him, I'm like, I wear, like a 33, 34 pant size. Nothing here indicates that that is something you have. And yeah, so I don't know. So I was like, I'm more than happy. I'll make a video. I'll ride them. I'll ride them on the trainer. I'll ride them outside. I'll make a video about them. Why not? They're not paying me. They're just sending me some cheap bike shorts. So it's like, I can be honest about them. And I'm like, I have no problem doing that. But then they didn't get back to me after that. So I don't know if they didn't understand what I was saying or they were upset by what I was saying. It's good advice. Hey, man, you're trying to sell them on Amazon to whether it be the Americans or English speaking world, then you got to fix that sizing chart. PRZEWSKI, Amazon brand are decent. Yeah. And I think I've talked about it on here before. The tights I wear are an Amazon brand underneath my whatever I may be wearing in the winter. And they're awesome. What is it called? Bayleaf. I love them. I've bought 6 pairs of them. I like, the nice, awesome wool stuff for like uppers and all that. For my tights, I really did find an Amazon brand that makes like the perfect thing for me. They're fleece lined tights. Oh, is this compressionless housing? Yes, I got the right. This is the one I cut when Yonda was here. You need a ferrule for this end. Yeah, see, this is a chart. They do have a chart, and it makes no sense. And a good thing if you're going to buy anything like cheaper on Amazon is read the reviews, because especially from some of the Asian companies, their sizing is for smaller Asian people, right? Smaller Japanese or Chinese people. And you'll see like people in the comments are like, this is a great product, just order up one size than you normally would, But this sizing chart just doesn't make any sense to me. Thought I had, yeah. Yeah, yeah, the second sizing chart. That's right. You're right. I mean, they're aggressive and they're trying to sell stuff. They're doing, they'll correct things if you just. And I also thought I kind of thought that's what they would have come back to me with, that kind of, oh, thanks, like we'll look into that type mentality that they do have by trying to be Amazon sellers. Trying to see where they have the groove on the actual derailleur for where the cable goes. This rear derailleur, well, I was going to say it doesn't look that much different than a Shimano, but Shimano's history, they start out by being a cheaper copy of Campy. That's so. How interesting. The washer that holds it in place, or whatever is actually goes into a notch in the derailleur. It's not just a notch on the outside, it's like an internal notch. High Italian quality. Gonna need to pull that through. Let's see what we... Well, every cycling clothing could get spendy, right? You said Pearl Izumi could get spendy, but I mean, some brands are only spendy, right? And then, good thing about Pearl Izumi is you'll find them marked down a lot of times, like no matter what it is. I have a wind jacket that I wore a lot by them, but I got it definitely like at an end of the season discount. And it's like the colors that are kind of horrible, but the quality of the jacket is great. I think we were talking about this whenever it was, but for me, I don't, because of the Brooks B17s, even when I'm on a tour, I don't wear cycling shorts. I mean, they're cycling shorts. The ones I like to wear are actually chrome, but what makes them cycling shorts is they have a stretch, but they're not tight. They're not bibs or anything like that. They're not true like cycling, roadie cycling shorts. Yeah, I found I was more comfortable without even like padded cycling underwear with the B17. In place. Wow, look how big that chain is. What bike did he take this off of? Put some tension on that cable. See ya, Danny. Thanks for stopping by. You just sit on large Marge's lap instead of wearing cycling shorts. Nice. Are these? They look a little different. This is a campy chain. To take links out, could I just put a normal chain tool on that? Or is it a different thing altogether? Oh yeah, those B limiters are way off. I can't even get past the third. Not B limiters, regular limiting screws. That's what I was wondering if it's, yeah. It doesn't look like your typical Shimano or SRAM chain. It looks like looks entirely different. Is it more like, what were the era, those Shimano ones where you have to put that pin through and break it off? I've never dealt with that BS either. Where am I? Here's an 8-speed chain. Are most of the pins hollow? I don't know, is that some weird campy thing where they save weight? Feels nice. Feels like it's like factory wax still. It's probably something worth researching before I mess with. Do I have a screwdriver? I don't know. This so 10-speed Centaur group set would. Oh, look how loose that got. Wow. Centaur, whatever. That era, would there be a quick link? Oh, there is a quick link in here. Yep, I just found it. There's a black quick link. It's actually not even pulled all the way tight. That has to be right. Yeah. Oh well. Just run it like that, Gary. This is probably something far more worth messing around with some research and more sober. Michael will call that a saggy chain. Oh, shit. Where did I just set the multi-tool? Oh, what am I? Interesting. The on this campy derailleur, the limiting screws kind of come in at an angle. I'm trying to see where they're contacting. It's very interesting. I can't see what they hit against the limit. Okay, so that one's putting the pressure on it, so that it's got to be the. Oh yeah, that's definitely. Oh, that's the high and the bottom one's the low. Huh. Lanky, what's up, man? He said if we're talking shorts, I swear by Pactimo. Huh. I actually don't know them. I'm not familiar with the brand. I would definitely trust you, though, because you've got a ton of road kit. What video was I watching where you showed your closet with like 25 jersey tops in it? Oh, I think it was your what you wish you'd known when you got into cycling, and you like show like a sweep of your closet. Like, dang, dude, this guy's got some kit. I'm just messing around right now. This is not any kind of. That's got to be the Highlander. I don't know why I'm trying to mess around with the multi-tool at home. Booty shorts all day long. Like, you gotta trust me on this one. Very liberating. Colorado brand, huh? On the, nice. De-roadie yourself. Okay, so now I see that's how that one works. Daisy Duke seemed to be all the rage. Man, there are some short jean shorts out there these days, man. Aaron keeps asking me and Ben when we're going to start wearing shorts like Ronnie from Ultra Dynamico. And I keep saying never. I've got a lot of jorts, jean shorts, and that is what I ran for a long time. But not that short. Gotta leave something to the imagination, right? You know, what do they say? Why buy the milk if you can get the whole cow for free? Do it for the views. I was looking at I think I talked about this before with VGNO Virtual Guys Night Out, but also the analytics on this channel. It's something like 98.7% male, which is which clearly means, obviously, since Erin, my girlfriend, watches my videos, that she is the 1.3% that we're getting as a female audience. So I'm not sure the short shorts would help the view count. Come on, Mike, you can put it in the big ring. Your wife doesn't watch your videos, so you have a 100% male audience. Nice. Even when you put her in the videos, because you have one riding with your wife. You do bike shorts with a chamois. Shorts over them unless it's super hot. No jersey, just wicking gym shorts. Yeah. Yeah, Ben's definitely into the tech tees. The tech tees from the big companies like Raf are so expensive too, though. Again, nice thing to watch out for is end of the season. Team changes colors. Good time to buy that kind of stuff. If it's not super hot, I'm still fine in a cotton tee. I do have like the jerseys, like if someone was talking earlier about Ohio Yuri, I'm wearing a couple of the ones that Otis has sold me, but they're like they fall between the mountain bike and the road bike jersey. Like my problem with the road bike jersey is that high cut because I'm not wearing bibs. So like, man, it's just like that section of like belly showing. You know, I I don't like road. I can't wear true road jerseys. Like, everything is aero now, which for the pros, I totally get it, but for us regular people, makes no sense. I do like quick drying stuff, but quick drying is almost more important in the winter than it is in the summer, anyways. I mean, but I don't run super hot. I mean, like I've said before, I've worked on a farm for 10 years. We always had jeans on because you had to. So if you find yourself out and you have to deal with stuff in a field, you need long pants. You can't be walking around out there in shorts. So always had jeans and boots on when it's 90 degrees in August in Ohio. So flipping from? And when I got into cycling, someone asked like if I did it my whole life, but when I got back into it, I always wore pants. I always had jeans on. You know, it was like I did not go out without jeans on, and it was like now I'm like, yeah, shorts are where it's at. I'm gonna wear shorts, but they're not necessarily, you know, cool cycling shorts or. Porn tube, not YouTube. Like if you were actually, if that was not a joke and you're asking about the bike, nothing on this is stock. So. What is that? Definitely need to do my campy research. Clueless over here. Oh, it's out of there. I was thinking I should put a little, what do we call the end caps on here before I mess up that cable. Yeah, the last few days have been so frustrating. One of my goals was to do my research, come on here, and kind of get this build close. But I did none of that, so I decided I'd come on here, rant about the state of the world, drink some beers, and then wing it, which, hey, you know, this is pretty close to being a bicycle now. You know, it's only been 2 episodes on this. What, it took 6 episodes to get the Hoban out on the road, so that's not doing too bad. Furl, yeah, for real? Cable is routed wrong or the limiter's off, for sure, yeah. Where are my ferrules? I love the I know I showed the collection of stuff in here before, but like super vintagey stuff, you know, a quarter, because you gotta have you never know when you're gonna need to make a phone call. No, Schrader to Presta. Some eyelets. Oh, look, some 1970s anodized housing ends. Yeah. Fair. For all the payphones out there, yeah. Hey, what's up, Matthew? Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, when the so not Earthquaker stuff, not there like when they have like pedals in places and stuff like that. I don't do that, but the actual product photography of the pedals, those are my photos. So when they release a new pedal or like the catalog shots, they do 7. Like there's the straight down, there's a couple different angles. We do them the same every time. So those are my photos that I shoot here in the studio upstairs. So yeah, a bunch of the Earthquaker guys are friends of me and Ben. I knew a lot of the owner, Jamie, I know from when I used to play in bands. But Carl, who's one of the office guys, he rides with me and Ben a lot. He's the one who actually got me involved in actually doing their photography. But it's great to go in there and walk through Earthquaker and all these guys building, now a lot of them are doing it from home, but in normal times, all the guys building the pedals are all people I know from bands from years, so. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think I'm amazed I'm still like down here able to stream from this laptop because it's getting long in the tooth. 4 years old, but there's certain stuff. The graphics card I don't think is working at all. It'll work with Zwift, but I can't. It won't. This laptop won't play HTML videos, so it won't play YouTube or any videos that are embedded in websites. It's really weird and wonky. I just did a full hard reset on it. I talked about it on Tuesday. I'm like, this got to be software issues, but no, I think there is a hardware issue, and it still streams down here pretty good. I just talked to my friend Brad, and I'm going to build a new computer, like a tower computer for upstairs for my actual editing. My new camera, I can't edit like the high quality footage from it. It's just too massive, and it just shuts that computer down. Even the photos are bogging it down. So what I think I'm going to do is build a new desktop that's 4K, that can edit 4K video, and then I think I'm going to bring that desktop down here, and so I could run Zwift and run these down the basement streams off of that, and then have the laptop just more for consuming media, because it still works. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, Earthquaker, they're the real deal. I mean, you look at who works there, it's pretty cool that Jamie gave his friends and musicians chances to work there, and like a lot of them made their career out of it. So yeah, he's a cool dude, and he still can destroy on guitar when he gets up there and plays live, when that was still happening. Rendering helps. Lanky asked if rendering helps, so you could render like parts of your video. Like, it's looking through my photos from the camera I'm shooting on now. It's an R5, is slowing down my Adobe software. It's crazy, and this is a dedicated. This is a computer that I did buy specifically for photo editing. The fans were up. It is hot. I mean, it's like heating my office area, this computer working with this new camera. I feel like there's something off with Adobe's programs, that I don't know if it's the way they're relying on the graphics cards and stuff like that. Something isn't working out with my machine. And everything I've tried to do to figure it out, I've had an Adobe tech going through my computer. I've had my friend Brad, who talked about helping me build a new computer, who runs. He does tech for hospital systems. You know what I mean? Knows what he's talking about. Has come and looked at it. He's like, doesn't know what's going on over there. And I'm like, it's my job, and it's like it's become completely frustrating to do anything on there. Fine, handles GoPro footage fine, but yeah. Custom PC, yeah, that's the way to go. That's what I'm going to do. Finally go custom PC. What my friend Brad was saying is the problem with, even if you're buying the same components in like a Dell or an HP or whatever it is, it's the stuff that's standardized that links them together that is cheap stuff made in, that goes in every production PC and every production computer. There's the connectors and the transistors and whatever they are, He was explaining it to me on a level that, and I'm not an idiot when it comes to computers, but I didn't understand. He's like, your weakness is in components that are stuck into the motherboard, and that's where they cut cost. He's like, you build your own PC, you're going to put in the same graphics card and the Intel processor and all that. He's like, but it's all the connections that are going to be quality, and he's like, that is going to make such a huge difference, which is really interesting to think about, but from my experience, must be a factor, because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my RAM. There's nothing wrong with the graphics card on paper. It's still an i7 8-core processor. You know, it's not working. You know, Adobe can't figure it out. Computer tech can't figure it out. He's like, there's a problem with the little things, you know. Cathodes, yeah. It's a series of tubes, and tubes aren't big enough. It actually still smells like shellac down here from shellacking all the bar tape on the oven. Oh, so I did a Zoom call with Aaron tonight and opened up OBS, which what open broadcast software, which is what I stream into YouTube with. And so I like recorded an interview with her to see if that would work out. Took me a few settings to get the video to show up. You have to change settings in OBS to, it was weird because I have the window and it's showing Zoom and it's just white. And then I realized, did some research, changed some settings. But then I wasn't getting any audio, and you would think that just having the desktop audio on that should be doing it, but it didn't. So I did some research, and then I wore out Aaron's patience, and I'm like, or probably my patience more than Aaron's patience, but you know, anyways, that's something I do want to figure out, and then we could do some of these where I get each one of you guys on here if you're interested, and do some chats. But maybe I'll get that figured out over the weekend and reach out to a couple of you guys so we could do some streams where we could have some back and forth. So, you know, there's about 10 of us who are usually here, so it'd be kind of cool to introduce each other. And even if it's just we do it for like 15 or 20 minutes to get an interview in, or however long we have stuff to say, I think that'd be fun if you guys are into that. It's like buying a nice group set and hooking it up with old worn out cables. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I have a lot to learn, and that's why I like to do this with OBS. He said he wants to redirect, and the same thing too. Like my camera could not be used in OBS in like the mode I have it set in right now, where I have my audio recorders right here, recording my vocals. The camera's recording into OBS, but then when Zoom was using the camera, OBS couldn't use the camera, so it just had to be a capture of Zoom going into OBS. So I just need to figure out where all that stuff works and have it all fall into place so we can do some more, like I said, get you guys on here. Yeah. Computers just endlessly frustrate me because they're logical, right? And so when I could do the process of elimination, like mechanical process, like process of elimination, like I'll do some research. I go, why isn't that doing that? Well, it's simple because there's 3 things here, there's 2 things there, right? I could figure it out. If I spend the time and the brain power, I can figure it out. Computers, I feel like, should mostly be the same thing. It's like there's a process. There has to be, if something has to be the weak link that's letting me down, and there are just times where I'm like, none of this makes sense. Like I'm doing like the process of elimination. Like, is it this drive? Maybe this drive is a problem. So copy the files onto the native drive on the PC. No difference. Well, that doesn't. So it's not the drive. I've eliminated that. You know, like, is it the camera? The files from the camera. So put files from a different camera on there. You know, I just feel like I'm at a loss. Too many variables in the computer, exactly. And I feel like everyone's... You know, the problem with, obviously, PC versus Mac too is like for Adobe or even for Windows, they have to design something that works on so many different machines, right? And from so many eras. And people get mad at Microsoft when they're like, we're not going to support people who haven't upgraded to this 15-year-old software. It's like, yeah, at some point you have to F off. You do have to buy new stuff. Like, it's not going to be Microsoft's job or Adobe's job to make it work on your, 1993, uh, whatever. I was hoping I could pull a Tandy, There you go, Tandy. That's a great. So I understand that there's a wide variety of stuff that has to work together, whereas Apple has like a closed ecosystem and is much easier to deal with. Why the M1 is already working so well in its first generation, but also I just can't stand the Apple thing of like you just can't mess with it, you can't upgrade it, and how they've integrated everything on that chip is so like the RAM is integrated on that chip. That's bullshit, man. Like if I want to upgrade later, you can't do it. There's no way to do it. There's no path forward on it. Oh, you're in New York, Matthew? Oh, oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. We had a ton of snow on Christmas, and but now it hasn't been cold enough actually because we've gotten all this rain and everything's wet. I would rather just get below freezing and be snow so I could just ride. I did get a good ride on my gravel bike in the other day because it was dry enough and I didn't have to worry about ice or anything. But we've been in this like where it's always in between, where it's just like, even today, just riding downtown, downtown Cuyahoga Falls is only a mile and a half and put in a 5 mile ride. If there was precipitation, it would have been rain and it would have been horrible. It would have been 34 and rainy, like the worst. You guys are Mac guys? Well, you can't debate it. It's like Canon and Nikon. You can't, people are, I get it. Macs just work. They just work. And that makes sense. But there's some things about them that drive me crazy as somebody who grew up with PCs. There's a limiting factor that is annoying and it's hard to describe. And I and I hate it on this device. I use iPhones now. I held out for a long time, but this is my third iPhone. Um, but even these are frustrating. There's no file management system. That's frustrating to me. Like I don't like the fact that also it saves everything. You edit a photo in their photos, it has changed it, like permanently changed it. They're great. Like they're great for like my parents. I want my parents to use this phone. I don't want them to mess with anything else. I want them to have an iPad, but yeah, computers just burn up. Yeah, and that's the other benefit I think of a Mac. You do pay a premium, but I do think Apple's last a little longer. But that's I think where I was getting into the custom PC build. What my friend was describing to me is like because those little in between components are nicer, they last longer as well. Once you start, if you not don't buy a Dell, but you go and buy housing and a motherboard and all those components, you're gonna get that length like a Mac would. Yeah, the closed system of Apple does drive me crazy sometimes, but at other times where I'm just like, where things do just work is very nice. Um, uh, so I thought you could revert to the original photo under edit. If they did, that's newer. It used to like I even remember being on my friend's computer and I did something to test it out. He's like, ah, he was like, don't do that, don't do that in Apple's native program. He was like, you're doing permanent changes. That happens on my iPhone sometimes where I can't revert back to where I was. Uh, Ben says he likes the simplicity of Macs. I get that. If you used it for a long time and you know how it works, I'm sure you have it all in your head. As someone who started out like, typing in commands in DOS, I don't like that. I like to be able to get in and set things the way I want them to be. But I've always said that. I don't even care about the Canon Nikon thing, but I've talked to people who are like diehards. If you're used to where the buttons are, that's nice. You know what I mean? But can you make a living off either one? Obviously. I mean, yeah. And Ben says the last Mac he had, his parents went through 6 PCs in the same time span. I believe it. Matthew says, anything fun on your shelf you want to share with us? I have shared a lot of that stuff. We did talk about this. I just got this Brook saddle, which traded a friend for an older GoPro 4, which I think I want to put on my gravel bike. Some interesting bars, but nothing crazy exciting. The really cool bell that Ben got me for Christmas that I need to put on the gravel bike. A lot of this is junk. Different brakes that I might use at some point. Some carbon cranks that totally broke on me when I was out riding. My feet ended up next to each other on these SLKs, FSA SLKs. But yeah, center pull brakes, toe cages, mostly pedals I've pulled off vintage bikes that are, like the old bear trap style ones, and put on better stuff, There's some cool old crank sets down there that might come in handy someday for stuff like that Miata. Is that the Miata? Yeah, frame set I traded Ben for. This is an interesting one. Did I show this on here? I know I talked about the bike. I have a bike that I can't figure out. It's a Van Niespin, and I've done a bunch of research. My friend bought it online, a vintage cyclocross bike from the Netherlands, and he bought it online, and it turned out the head tube was bent, so the fork wouldn't go through it smoothly. It's really cool looking. And he emailed the eBay guy, and he was going to build it up his own way. And he was like, the head tube's bent. And you didn't say that. And the guy just refunded his money and let him keep it. So he gave me all the components. Well, he gave me the whole thing. The frame I just have hanging up on the stairs going up out of here. But I hadn't seen something like this. It's a vintage one by. The bike has to be late 70s, early 80s. But you can see how it keeps the chain on because it's got the double like plates on the inside and the outside, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the bike is really cool. Total mix. It's got like campy dropouts. The headset is campy, but then it has Shimano bottom bracket in it. Then it was bar end shifting. That's where this bar end came from. A Sun Tour, actually. So just this completely mix of components. And the brand, when I've looked it up, there's a bike shop that sells e-bikes somewhere in the Netherlands with that name. And it's all in their language, and I haven't been able to understand or ask about I have not been able to figure out what the bike was, but this is a strong light crankset. But yeah, some interesting stuff there, which would be worth spending more time on eventually. You said the double plate thing wasn't that rare, not common, but was out there. Okay, yeah, I'm also a little unfamiliar with the cyclocross, especially the vintage cyclocross scene. Yellowbird Threadworks. I'm not. Is that a local shop or is that an online shop? Oh, did my camera battery just die? Whoops. Bring me back. Oh, weird. Look at that glare. You guys see that upside down from the Pabst neon sign that's reflecting in the cheap webcam camera? Cool. Glad you got the stream. Looking forward to when I could do more Earthquake events. Yeah, Earthquaker Day was one of my favorite things to do. Oh, back home at Nutmeg. Gotcha. All right, see you, Matthew. Glad you dropped by, man. See if I can get this. I don't know why the oh, the camera shows it's working. Nope. Unplug it, plug it back in. Interesting. Another confusing situation. He does custom and universal bar bags, feed bags, and frame bags. Really anything you could think of. Nice. Well, when I click to this, when I click to my camera, you guys are seeing the EOS webcam utility screen, right? The camera shows it's hooked up to the laptop. Uh-oh. Yeah, the camera runs, it only runs off the batteries, it won't, oh, whoa. Now I've lost everything. Can you guys hear or see me? Now I've lost everything. Hi, hear or not see. Yeah, OBS shut down, restarted, and now nothing shows anything. Oh, I think it went all to laptop. I think my voice is probably coming off the laptop now. Hi, hear or not see. Yeah, OBS shut down, restarted, and now nothing. Thanks, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to call it a night. Because it's an ending disaster. All right, dudes. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll catch up on Tuesday live. I can't get this going. I can't figure it out. Peace, dudes.